Hello, everyone. Welcome. We'll get started at the top of the hour. Hi, everyone. Welcome to Learn the Ropes, how to start your Safe Routes to School program. Welcome. We have a great webinar planned today, all devoted to starting and growing your Safe Routes to School program. I'm going to kick things off by outlining a Safe Routes to School toolkit we'll be releasing next month, and then we'll hear from two Safe Routes to School practitioners, and we'll be ending our webinar with a question and answer session. With that, I'll go ahead and get started. A little bit about the Safe Routes to School National Partnership. We are a nonprofit organization that works to advance safe walking and bicycling to and from schools to improve the health and well-being of kids of all races, income levels, and abilities, and to foster the creation of healthy communities for everyone. A little bit about what we do. We improve quality of life for kids, families, and communities. We advance policy change at the federal, state, regional, and local levels. We catalyze support for safe, healthy, active communities, and we share our deep expertise. Before we begin, let's go over some webinar housekeeping. To the left is the GoToWebinar viewer, through which you'll see the presentation. To the right is the GoToWebinar control panel, where you can raise your hand, ask questions, and select the audio mode you'll use. Please note, your control panel will collapse automatically when not in use. To keep it open, you can click the View menu and uncheck Auto Hide Control Panel. Two options for listening to us today. You can use your telephone or your computer microphone and speakers. If you have sound problems with one selection, go ahead and try the other option. We'll do our best to field any issues. Just send us a chat message. Even though you're muted, we want to hear your input. Use the questions box to ask speakers questions for the Q&A portion of the webinar. We'll try to answer if there's time at the end. After viewing today's presentation, you might want to view it again or send the link to some of your friends. If that's the case, you can do it for free by visiting our website. Go to saferoutespartnership.org. Click on the Resource tab heading and click on Webinars in the list on the left-hand side of the page. All past webinars are stored here for your viewing pleasure, and they're really great resources, so I urge you to visit this page. A little bit about today's speakers. Our first speaker will be myself, Hannah Williams. I'm the Program Services Manager with the Safe Routes to School National Partnership. Then we'll be hearing from Greg Couch, Safe Routes to School Coordinator for Northwoods Elementary PTA. And then we'll hear from Ashleigh Curry, Safe Routes to School Coordinator in Las Cruces, New Mexico. Okay, building blocks, a guide to starting and growing a strong Safe Routes to School program. We've organized the toolkit to lead you through what you'll need to know to start or expand a Safe Routes to School program. Section 1 provides background on Safe Routes to School, highlighting the benefits for families, schools, and the community. Section 2 covers the 6 E's of Safe Routes to School and key program activities within each E. Section 3 discusses steps to build, grow, and sustain your program. And Section 4 examines key elements such as staffing, task forces, action plans, and funding opportunities for your Safe Routes to School program. The toolkit includes an appendix of customizable templates and resources, including a stakeholder assessment worksheet, task force invitation letter, Safe Routes to School coordinator position description, sample Safe Routes to School city resolutions, a sample Safe Routes to School board resolution, and a sample action plan matrix. Whether you're curious about Safe Routes to School or have an existing Safe Routes to School program, this toolkit has something for everyone. Section 1 of the toolkit will cover background and important topics such as how does Safe Routes to School work and why does Safe Routes to School matter? The toolkit provides studies and resources so that you can speak effectively to any audience, students, families, teachers, administration, city staff, and more. We couldn't have a Safe Routes to School webinar without including the benefits of Safe Routes to School. Safe Routes to School benefits are included in the background portion of the toolkit. Let's review these together. The benefit of Safe Routes to School: safer students, improved traffic safety, and increased confidence for students through opportunities to learn about and practice road safety. Improved traffic safety from the implementation of small and large infrastructure improvements near schools. Reduced street vulnerability. Safe Routes to School works to improve street safety for students experiencing harassment or violence. Group walking and bicycling activities to school are one strategy to address safety concerns associated with student vulnerability and the absence of adult supervision. Healthier students. Increased daily physical activity, forming healthy habits that can last a lifetime, helping students build strong bones, muscles, and joints, and decreasing the risk of chronic disease and obesity. Better focus. Students who are ready to learn, who are healthy, awake, and alert, with better focus and concentration, which can improve academic performance. School transportation fixes. Solutions to school transportation issues, such as a reduced or no bus service, dangerous traffic congestion at pickup or drop-off times, and student absences and tardiness due to transportation challenges. Community connections. Increased family and community engagement, providing positive social opportunities and connections for students, families, and community members. Cost savings. Household savings on gas and personal vehicle use, as well as savings on cost of student busing. Cleaner air and fewer asthma attacks. A cleaner environment and fewer asthma attacks by reducing air pollution from car emissions. Now that we know what Safe Routes to School is and why it's important, Section 2 breaks down key program activities. These activities are grouped by the 6 E's. The 6 E's framework includes education, providing students and the community with the skills to walk and bicycle safely, educating them about benefits of walking and bicycling, and teaching them about the broad range of transportation choices. Encouragement. Generating enthusiasm and increased walking and bicycling for students through events, activities, and programs. Engineering. Creating physical improvements to streets and neighborhoods that make walking and bicycling safer, more comfortable, and more convenient. Enforcement. Deterring unsafe traffic behaviors and encouraging safe habits by people walking, bicycling, and driving in school neighborhoods and along school routes. Evaluation. Assessing which approaches are more or less successful, ensuring that programs and initiatives are supporting equitable outcomes, and identifying unintended consequences or opportunities to improve the effectiveness of each approach. Equity. Ensuring that Safe Routes to School initiatives and ensuring that Safe Routes to School initiatives are benefiting all demographic groups, with particular attention to ensuring safe, healthy, and fair outcomes for low-income students, students of color, students of all genders, students with disabilities, and others. This toolkit provides examples of activities for each E. Lists of materials and links to resources and templates are also included. On this slide, you can see the activities included for education and encouragement. I'll go ahead and read them for folks joining us on the phone. Incorporating Safe Routes to School into other subjects, bicycling skills clinics, bicycle maintenance courses, community education and awareness campaigns, competitions and contests, walking school buses and bike trains, remote drop-off, walk and bike to school days. Here we have the activities included for engineering, enforcement, evaluation, and equity. Walk audit, walking and biking route maps, arrival and dismissal assessments, student safety patrol, crossing guards, surveys, travel tallies, program tracking and periodic assessments, program and project prioritization, tailoring activities and programs. Although Safe Routes to School programs differ in each community and have to fit local needs, programs tend to experience a similar pattern of growth and development, and may benefit from the same structural components. In Section 3, we discuss some of the nuts and bolts of how to develop your Safe Routes to School program. By following the recommendations set out here, you can develop a strong and sustainable Safe Routes to School program. Stage 1, starting your seedling. Give your program a good start. Goal setting. As you get started, reflect on what is driving the effort to create a Routes to School program. Take a look at existing behavior around walking and biking in your community. Talk to parents, families, students, teachers, and others to begin to understand why your community needs Safe Routes to School and to develop a vision of what a successful program would look like. Take steps to figure out the basic structure of your program. Ask questions like, do I have a budget? Are there resources that the school or city is willing to provide? Who will take the lead on figuring out next steps and running activities? Will you operate under the school, PTA, health department, or be informal? Kick off Safe Routes to School education and encouragement activities. You can jump in and get started with a few encouragement and education activities at individual schools. Popular activities include celebrating walk and bike to school days or organizing a walking school bus. Begin developing relationships with key partners. Reach out to city staff, the school district, school board, PTA, and community groups. Let these partners know why Safe Routes to School matters and how it's going to benefit the students in your community. Stage 2, grow strong branches, develop supportive structures. Some communities start at this stage, often when a grant initiates a program. At this stage, you will most likely start to see buy-in from the city, county, district, families, and other groups within the community. As your program grows, the components below will aid the development of supportive structures. Community engagement to determine needs. Make sure that you've expanded beyond your immediate circle and have reached out to a wide array of residents, families, students, and other community leaders and partners. What needs do they see for the community? How can a Safe Routes to School program address these needs? Get their ideas for how to improve health and support safe walking and biking. Look for leadership in your Safe Routes to School program. Organize a district or city task force to bring people together in a variety of different stakeholders and agencies that will need to collaborate to advance safe routes to school significantly. This team will focus on long-term plans and integrating plans with the district and city. Develop an action plan to assist with prioritizing activities and achievements over several years. Document your community's vision for walking and biking. Stage 3, become a healthy tree, institutionalize your program. By this stage, your program is up and running and well established. To strengthen and sustain the program so that it's not just dependent upon current efforts, but will last over the long haul, it's important to institutionalize it. Make it a permanent part of existing institutions. At this stage, programs are focused on sustaining and expanding existing activities. It's crucial to work on creating continuity with programs and scaling your program up so that it's operating across a jurisdiction or area, including multiple schools, districts, or regions. Funding. Long-term funding is essential to sustainability and is a persistent challenge for safe routes to school programs. Collaborating with city or county. Work with city or county staff to plan for larger street improvements. Work together to catalog needs, prioritize projects, and identify funding sources. Advocate for strong district and city policies. Assess existing policies and identify gaps. Adopt good district and city policies that will advance safe routes to school and walking and biking more generally. Change any district policies that do not support safe walking and biking. Stage 4, reach maturity, become a comprehensive program. Some programs become strong, institutionalized programs, and yet only reach a small percentage of students within their jurisdiction. Safe routes to school programs can be much more than that. The final step in building your program is becoming comprehensive. A comprehensive program will result in distinct changes in culture at school or schools and the surrounding community. A comprehensive program will have a strong safe routes to school commitment from the district and city. These entities will support safe routes to school because they see the direct benefits for their agency in doing so. A comprehensive program will have programming at all schools within the district and the surrounding community, although prioritization may result in different tiers of intensity for different schools. A comprehensive program provides every student with basic walking and bicycling skills and has developed programming that is inclusive of all grades, languages, and backgrounds, and students with disabilities. A comprehensive program supports the implementation of larger street improvement projects. And a comprehensive program is often a robust evaluation and improvement process. As your program moves through the stages we just spoke about, you'll need to develop supportive structures that assist in operationalizing a coordinated effort among many partners. This section expands on some of the essential components of a Safe Routes to School program mentioned as part of the stages in Section 3. By following the recommendations set out here, you can develop a strong and sustainable Safe Routes to School program. Essential components for your program include creating a task force, a group of community members who will work to support and implement a Safe Routes to School program at the school, city, or district level. We have a sample task force invitation letter in the toolkit to assist you. Another essential component is staffing. Full-time, part-time, paid, volunteer, housed at the school, city, or somewhere else. All questions to ask. This toolkit has several position descriptions included to assist you. Other essential components are action plans. Action plans can be as simple as a list of actions and a timeline, or as complex as a formal report. This toolkit provides an action plan matrix and links to simple action plans. Other essential components are policies. This toolkit highlights school district policies and city policies. The last essential component in this toolkit is funding. This toolkit includes information on funding opportunities such as federal and state transportation grants, health grants, physical education grants, local foundations, and sponsorships. The toolkit will be available next month on our website. Below is my contact information if you have any questions. Now, let's see some of the topics in this toolkit brought to life. Our next presenter is Greg. Greg Couch is a freelancer graphic designer based in Cary, North Carolina. He is a proud parent of a third grader at Northwoods Elementary. He was introduced to Safe Routes to School when Northwoods received a Safe Routes to School grant 4 years ago and was asked to serve on the steering committee. He currently serves as the Northwoods PTA Safe Routes to School coordinator. Greg, along with a group of dedicated parents, organized many walk and bike to school events, created a weekly walking school bus, and advocate for needed infrastructure improvements in and around Northwoods Elementary. Thank you, Greg.
Thank you, Hannah. And hello to everyone listening. As Hannah mentioned, I'm a parent of a third grader at Northwoods Elementary in Cary, North Carolina. So I'm going to try to give my perspective as a parent volunteer, helping to create a Safe Routes to School program through our school's PTA. I think a PTA, or I know in some parts of the country they're called PTOs, are well positioned to kind of take on this role, especially if you've already got an organization in place that's well run and you got a good group of parent volunteers. So I'm going to talk a bit about the history behind our Safe Routes program, how we began, got organized, and go over some of the things we've learned over the past few years. So hopefully some others can take some of these ideas and apply them to their own school. So I'm going to go over a little bit of background behind our school. We are located in downtown Cary, North Carolina, so we're very much in an urban environment. Enrollment is anywhere, depending on the year, anywhere between 500, 575 students, with roughly around a quarter living within a quarter mile, and quite a few living in what's considered a no transport walk zone. We did have some existing programs in place prior to when we started an official Safe Routes to School program. We had been involved off and on over the years in Walk to School Day, dating all the way back to 2001. Bike to School Day, and then some weekly walking programs. During the 2014-15 school year, we had a group of parents who worked to win a State Farm Neighborhood Assist Grant to try to replace an aging staircase pedestrian access with a new bicycle and stroller-friendly ramp. You can kind of see a picture. This is the primary access. We have a greenway that runs adjacent to our school and a neighborhood. And this stairway is actually the primary pedestrian access. So as you can see, we have no real easy way of getting a stroller. It's obviously not ADA accessible. And so we worked to try to get a grant. We didn't get the grant. We were one of the finalists, but it did kind of serve as a catalyst for in the fall of 2015. We were one of 5 schools within Wake County who were chosen to participate in a Safe Routes to School grant. This is actually a private funding that's managed by the UNC Highway Safety Research Center with funding provided by the John Rex Endowment. And so we received staff support, guidance, and funding to develop an action plan, which you can see the front cover of it there. So this was really a great way to be introduced to Safe Routes to School for me, not knowing anything about it prior to 3.5 years ago. And the steps that we took, which I'll kind of go over, I think even though we were grant supported, I think this is something that could be easily replicated by other parents, other PTAs. And last, we made sure to create a standing PTA board position, which is the position I have now on our PTA, which is the Safe Routes to School coordinator position. And I think that's important because it kind of shows a long-term commitment within the structure of the PTA to safe routes to school. It ensures that it plays a vital part in the overall PTA, and it also allowed us to organize all of our events and activities under that safe routes umbrella. So things like walk to school day, bike to school day, walking school bus all now fall under that safe routes to school coordinator position. Let's see, go on to the next slide. I wanted to show some pictures, some of the results that we've had over the last few years. The first 3 photos on the left side of the slide are of a sidewalk improvement project adjacent to the school. This is actually the neighborhood that I just mentioned, that the staircase, it leads to a greenway, and then it leads to this crosswalk. So anywhere between 30 to 40 students live in this area. And this spot was identified in our action plan as our primary infrastructure project. And with considerable help and funding from the town of Cary and some of our other partners, we were able to actually have this completed in, I think it was less than a year and a half from when we started. So we were really excited to have that done. And this was something right from the get-go. We wanted to focus. We wanted to connect the program, some of the programs we were already doing, programs we were starting, like walking school buses. We wanted to connect that with infrastructure improvement. So we were using the programs to advocate for those things. So I'd say some of the other results of our program have been to continue and expand our walk to school day event, bike to school day event. For bike to school day, we've been lucky to have a parent, Steve Goodridge, who used his expertise as a certified cycling instructor to create a custom safety course for our students, which this is our afternoon. We do a morning ride, then we do an afternoon safety bike rodeo. And prior to this, we had a small course geared more towards, I would say, younger grade levels. That was run with the help of our local police school outreach team, who did a fantastic job, but Steve's expanded course really allowed us to engage some of our older students, allowed us to teach them some skills specific to what they might encounter on bikes. And it's kind of small on the slide, but you can see the map that we came up with. We actually measured the entire blacktop out behind the school and generated this map based on Steve's initial drawings. And we also did handouts for the parent volunteers that showed them how to run each station, set it up. So the idea behind this is that this will be something that we'd be able to publish in a notebook, pass on to other parents down the road once we're gone. It'd be something they'd be able to recreate easily using our description and diagram. And also, that is a great example of finding and using resources that you might already have at your school. Steve has been a long time bicycle and pedestrian advocate in our neighborhood, or in our community, I should say. He's also a board member of Bike Walk NC, which is a nonprofit advocacy group here in North Carolina. So we sort of hit the jackpot with having him as a parent at Northwoods. But I think if you look around at your school, you'll often find parents with skills that could help a safe routes to school program. So you really need to ask and communicate and find out whether it's somebody that's, an avid cyclist, or perhaps someone that's a planner or traffic engineer in law enforcement. It's important as you're starting a program to find those people. And a couple other quick activities. Our weekly walking school bus was a brand new thing that we started a couple of years ago. That's something that we do 3 times a week, 2 from the neighborhood I've already mentioned adjacent to the school, 1 time per week from neighborhood across from the front of the school. And we've been really happy. We've got an excellent participation rate and a lot of interest in that program. And then finally, along the same lines as our bike to school day event, we had another amazing parent volunteer, Jennifer Zerda, who began a walking recess program at several years ago. So that gives some kids an opportunity to participate in walking, even if they're not able to participate in some of the other activities, or if they don't live close to the school. And Jen had a background in wellness education, served as our PTA wellness coordinator. And so there's a lot of overlap between our wellness efforts that we're already doing and the health benefits of walking and biking to school. So it's been great to be able to present safe routes as part of that effort to have a healthier school. So it's not just about safety and not just about infrastructure improvement. And moving on, this was when I sat down for this presentation, I wanted to create a slide that kind of gave I guess, a step-by-step plan and assign a keyword or a phrase to each step. So this was kind of my attempt to do that. Step one, commitment, figuring out what kind of time commitment you're willing to make. And that goes hand in hand with the phrase below that, which is how big or small of a program you want. If your school hasn't done anything in the past, you might just want to start with participating in walk and bike to school day events, or you might be hoping to start weekly activities such as a walking school bus, become advocates for needed infrastructure such as new crosswalks. But as a parent, I'll say that either way, whether you're going big or small on this, it's important to understand that the Safe Routes program really benefits, like some other PTA programs, from making a multi-year commitment, which can be a lot for a parent to commit to, but it really does pay off because it can take up to a year just to plan, gather information, establish your programs, and especially if you're interested in advocating for infrastructure improvement, it can take a lot of time to learn the various agencies that are involved with that, find possible funding sources, and understand all the processes and steps you have to go through. Try to go through some of these pretty quick. Buy-in, getting buy-in from your PTA, your parents, school administrators, teachers. Our principal, Robin Wall, she has been a huge supporter of our Safe Routes efforts. She often comes out in the morning to join our walking school bus, and she's kind of really supported us every step of the way in this. Planning is probably the most important step, time spent in the planning stage. Even if you don't have grant support like we did, the process that we went through could be easily replicated by a PTA. Form a task force of parent and teacher volunteers, hold meetings to get ideas and input. You could invite police, traffic planners, school board officials, elected officials to those meetings. You can even do parent neighborhood surveys to get input from the community. Next word, communication. It's not really a step, but an important consideration throughout the whole process, whether that's making use of flyers, surveys, social media. It's important to let people in your school know that you're out there and what you're trying to do. We have a very diverse school at Northwoods, so we made a point to reach out to parents where English might be a second language. So that included doing things like our initial walking school bus flyer in English and Spanish, getting advice from our ESL teachers, and making sure we set up an info table at every school event throughout the year. Patience, I put that one the largest because once you've got all your volunteers on board, you've got a plan of action in place. It's important to have patience because Safe Routes programs, they can take time to get off the ground and develop interest amongst parents and students. And if you're interested in also taking a role of advocating for infrastructure improvement, it kind of goes without saying that you're going to need patience for that. Be an advocate is an important one I've learned over the years. Safe Routes programs really benefit beyond just the school. They can help your surrounding community. So something like our crosswalk project, for example, that serves an entire neighborhood adjacent to the school as access to the Cary Greenway system. So we've helped slow traffic in the area and given a safer access to the Greenway for our entire community, not just for our students. So while if you're listening to this and you're a parent or PTA volunteer, I think it's also productive to view yourself as an advocate for your community beyond just a parent volunteer. And finally, real quick, remember every school is unique. That's something I've also learned from talking to other schools over the year that, every school is unique and there are unique solutions out there. A good example is a lot of rural schools that, you can't really have a walk to school day because none of the kids live near the school, but a lot of schools have started walk at school events and programs. So I'd encourage anyone out there, if the situation I'm describing for our school doesn't necessarily match yours, there are lots of resources and information out there for you. Moving on real quick, a couple slides, just some things I wanted to emphasize. Always involve community leaders. That's something we've done over the years. And I've got a lot of stories I could tell, but I won't, about benefits and things that have kind of arisen out of this. So always make sure to invite community leaders like mayors, member of town council, school board, police, because you can be a bridge between agencies and groups that may not necessarily always talk. So, school board, for instance, in a municipality, they may not talk about some of the issues and the infrastructure needs you have around your school. And moving on, this was something I came up with for a previous presentation last year. I just wanted to list out all of the various partners that we've worked with over the last 3.5 years, to kind of give people a sense of just how many agencies and people you can involve to be successful. A couple I want to point out really quick: Active Routes to School. That is an partnership here in North Carolina between the Division of Public Health and Department of Transportation. And you'll find, if you do some research, a lot of states have similar groups and similar organizations like that can help you. Our coordinator for that, for our region, they've split North Carolina up into, I can't remember how many regions, but we're Region 5, and our coordinator for that, Jennifer Delcourt, she is an amazing resource for us. We couldn't do half of what we do without her. So I'd encourage any parent wishing to start a Safe Routes to School program to really research, what's available through government, local government, statewide government, see what's out there. And let's see. Moving on. This is my last slide, just some things I wanted to go over for ideas for growing and maintaining your program, because if you put the time and effort into this, you don't want it to only last 1 year or disappear after you're gone. So I put three major things. One is to market your program. Don't be afraid to get it out there. As Hannah mentioned, I'm a graphic designer, so that's kind of my area of expertise. So we do lots of social media. We do signs, stickers, shirts. You can see a picture of our walking school bus shirt that we did this year. That's something that kids come out, participate at least 3 times and get a shirt. Our walking school bus sign, which you can see in the photo below that, kids take turns holding that, leading our walking school bus. And let's see, planning for long term, applying for grants and awards. That's something to really help bring attention to your program, bring attention to your school. Planning for the long term, making Safe Routes a permanent part of your PTA. And then finally, sharing and learning, take advantage of resources, talk to other schools in your community. And finally, really quick, just to close this out, for me personally, this has been a very rewarding experience for the last 3.5 years. I didn't know anything about Safe Routes prior to this, so don't be afraid to just get out there and start and be an advocate and learn as you go. And I think that's it. Thank you guys for letting me share some of our experiences with you. Thanks.
Thank you, Greg.
Hi, everyone.
I'm going to give Ashleigh a quick introduction. So Ashleigh has been with the Safe Routes to School. She's been the Safe Routes to School coordinator in Las Cruces, New Mexico since 2010. She loves to travel, ride bikes, hike, and go for long walks on the irrigation ditches around her house in New Mexico. She's a mother of 2 amazing teenagers. Thank you, Ashleigh.
Thank you very much. I'm Ashleigh Curry, and I'm going to try to just jump straight in because I want to make sure that we can save some time. I think Hannah and Greg did some amazing insight and information already, so let me just jump in. So we are a staff of 3 people, 3 half-time people. I am funded by the New Mexico Department of Transportation, and I'm funded through TAP funding, the Transportation Alternatives Program. We've been funded since the get-go from the New Mexico Department of Transportation. 6 years ago, we had funding from the Department of Health, where we have 2 half-time champions who work together with us. And then we also have stipend positions, where we have 16 schools who receive $500 a year to pay a staff person to help run the program at their school. So that, again, that's TAP funding. We have community volunteers, and then we have a coalition. Our coalition is really a very key part of what we were saying, kind of like Greg was saying, bring in the local people. These are all of our local government entities. They are the engineering, planning, policing departments, from the city and from the county and from our little town of Mesilla, the Department of Health, the MPO, bicycle educators. And we meet together every single month. And it's really key because this is where we discuss issues that pertains citywide to anything to do with enforcement, engineering, education, whatever we need to do. And as Greg mentioned, this is really a great bridging opportunity. A lot of these agencies don't speak to each other otherwise, or don't have an opportunity to, and so we can come together and really help guide projects that need to be done around schools or issues that we're having around specific schools. We also have a number of partner members that we just call on whenever we need to. It's the local bike shop, the Optimist Club, the Look For Me campaign, which is based in Albuquerque. We have student athletes from the university nearby, elected officials. We have just a number of people who, whenever we need anything, we just give them a call and they help us with whatever programs or issues that we may be having at the moment. So our program in Las Cruces is really heavily program based in that we do a lot of focus on our education and encouragement. We are one school district. We have 25 elementary schools. 18 of our elementary schools have a weekly walking school bus, and 4 of our schools have a monthly walking school bus. We also offer education to all 25 of our elementary schools in the 3rd grade level right now. And again, we work with our partners on infrastructure needs, law enforcement, that kind of thing. We have participated in International Walk to School Day since 2006, and for the last 4 years, we've had 100% participation from all 25 of our elementary schools. And then, of course, a big part of what we do is maintain our statistics. In fact, this last year, we just had an outside person from the university do a 12-year evaluation on our program to give us direction for where to go from here. So our weekly walking school buses gather at a starting location, which may be a park or a business or some location about a half a mile from the school. Kids either walk to that start location, or if they live further away, they can get dropped off, and certainly they can join us along the walk on the way to school. We go into the classrooms. We do a 4-part education curriculum. We go in typically during PE, and we work with the PE coaches. We do a section on bicycle and pedestrian basics, why walk. We do another section on bicycle safety. The 3rd time we go outside and we walk in the bike lanes, or we walk outside in the parking lots and talk to them, do a really interactive piece on parking lot safety. And then our 4th visit with the kids is a field trip where we go out in public and do traffic lights and practice crossing at signals and things like that. So I know you guys are all here really trying to figure out how to start a program, and boy, Hannah really outlined it so beautifully for you guys. I wish I was so eloquent, but I'm just going to give you a few quick tips and tricks that we have found to be super helpful here in Las Cruces. If at all possible, it's really helpful to be an employee of the school district. When I started out, I worked for the town and did not have the access that I needed. And so the next grant cycle, we changed the fiscal agent to being the school district. And now I'm an employee of the school district. And I can walk into any classroom. I can have access to any of the student records, addresses if I'm doing mapping. I can talk to the principals, the teachers. I can give handouts and give information. And again, because I'm at 25 schools, I'm not so much just like Greg is at one particular PTO. So it does really help to be an employee of the school district. I really recommend starting with a pilot program if you have multiple schools, and even if you just have one school. And I have found the most successful way to start it is at the end of the school year. And it may sound counterintuitive, but if you were looking right now to start a program, there's a lot of background work you can do from now until the start of actually starting a walking school bus. But I recommend having a finite number of weeks, like 6 weeks or 8 weeks, that you say, we're starting April 1st and we're ending at the end of May. And then you get to really figure out what needs to be changed, what needs to be tweaked. Maybe the route wasn't quite ideal. Maybe the starting time wasn't ideal. Maybe the approach or the requirements that you had of students, you had dogs come along and you found the dogs were not a good thing. Instead of making changes mid-program or mid-year, it's easier to do a pilot program, figure out the kinks, and then start the next school year with a clean slate. So in that pilot program, if you were starting now and you actually start walking in April, I would just take that time And again, Hannah's really outlined a lot of these things, but just identify your allies, who your partner is going to be, do those school site assessments, the surveys, figure out the route, figure out your promotion plan, incentives, and then really gathering information for the action plan. Our first action plan was written really before we started programming, and it's amazing how different our program has ended up from what the action plan originally recommended, just because there were things we didn't know until we actually started walking and biking with kids and being in the classroom. So using this time to kind of gather information and ideas to move forward with your action plan. Really getting into the schools and selling it to them and saying, you know, what's in it for the school. Again, it's been said before, but just talking about the schools want to know, everybody wants to know what's in it for me. So you look at it from the school point of view, and from the principals, it's going to be parent involvement and community connections and reducing traffic around the school, promoting health. You got to look at every school, and as Greg said, every school is unique. So look at what that school, what their kind of catch points are, what they really want to be achieving, and then see how Safe Routes to School works into that for them. So the biggest thing that I have found with every elementary school that we have worked with is that they are all so busy and so overwhelmed by everything else that they are trying to accomplish. So make it a low obligation buy-in for these folks. Basically, that means come in, say, all I need is a yes from you, and we're going to make the program happen, and we really don't need much from the principal and staff right now. So if you can somehow pull that off, you'll see that you'll win people over once the program gets going, and then you'll figure out who from the school are those people who you can count on a regular basis. But just get in there and organize it, set it up, run it, and then come back and say, hey, look what we've done. And once you've got it up and going, then you can have kind of more success stories, and everybody wants to be a part of that success. So again, once you've got it up and going, you see who those teachers are, who the staff are, who join you and walk, or who are excited and say, wow, that's a cool thing. So one of my biggest tips really is pick people and personalities and passion over position. So you're not going to the PE coach saying, hey, will you help me run the Safe Routes to School program? Because the PE coach may not have a passion for it, or the PE coach may have 3 different kids that they're dropping off at 3 different schools on their way in. But it may be the librarian who's got kids that are older, or it may be somebody else who's just really into walking and biking, and they may be an educational assistant in the classrooms, or they may be a secretary, or somebody who's not necessarily in a position that you would have immediately thought would be one of your best allies. And then convincing the parents what's in it for your family. You know, again, this is going to be different than what you tell the principals, but it's a safe way for your kids to get to school. It's fun for your kids. They have an opportunity to meet new friends. Parents can meet other parents there. Sometimes parents just want to get off to work a little early in the mornings, and they can drop their kids off and get off to work a little early. So again, depending on your community and what the situation is, just kind of brainstorm what's in it for the parents. And then, of course, it's engaging the kids and what's in it for the kids. And quite frankly, at the end of the day, the kids all, in my opinion, do it because they like to earn the prizes and the charms. And so you can see in that picture on the left, those are the little charms. We get them from Fitness Finders. And every week that they walk, they earn another little charm that they can add to their charm bracelet. We also, the second picture is the frequent walker biker punch card. And every time they walk, we give them a little punch. When they get to 10, they earn something. It may be a field trip. It may be an extra recess. It may be a water bottle or a little drawstring backpack or something like that. So, just figure out some incentives that you can give to kids. You can see in that top picture, we also did t-shirts, and in fact, we had the kids all draw a walker or a biker, and then I put them all onto a t-shirt, and the kids all got those t-shirts one year. So there's constantly ongoing cultivation within the school. So once you get it up and going, you need to get to just, it's what we do. It's an identification. It's a part of what the school does on a regular basis. Another tip is don't cancel. Figure out your policy, and this is part of that pilot program. Our policy here in Las Cruces is we walk rain or shine. This morning it was 22 degrees here, and we had a whole bunch of kids walk to school, a whole bunch of kids bike to school. The only time we cancel is for lightning. So if it's cold, bundle up. And then the way we've got around that within the school district is kids need to get to school. A lot of kids are walking anyway, and we leave it up to the parents whether they bring their kids to participate in the program or not. Again, jump into the education piece. There may be a task force within the school. Think of your promotion. Is it on the calendar? Do you do Remind 101 or the Classroom Dojo or a banner in front of the school? You know, just kind of keep it going within the school. And then sustainability and partnerships, that's really important. And sustainability sometimes is mistaken for self-sustaining, and there will always be a need for a program coordinator or somebody to head up the program. There'll always be new students, new principals, staff changing. You constantly, year after year, you're renewing the program and getting people interested. So elements of a sustainable program, again, you need that leader. I really feel like it's important with the partners to have that regular monthly coalition meeting just to talk about the issues that come up on a monthly basis. And just good communication, get into those school policies. We, over the last number of years, are an important part of all of our planning documents within the city. We've got an active transportation plan. We're one of the top things in the active transportation plan for the city. We do the long range plans for the city and the county were mentioned in all of those. So I think that is all very important. And again, just really nurture those partnerships. Show up, be a part of what they do, see how you can collaborate with them. So maybe they have something that's similar to yours. You know, work together, do it, include, and stay in touch. And I think one of the biggest pieces of success is encourage your partners to claim ownership of the program. And what I mean by that is, for example, the police department. They come out, they help us with a bunch of different things on a regular basis, whether we need enforcement at a school, we have a school that has a really big speeding problem, the police will come up. But what I say to them is call us your program. So when you filling out your reports, what are you doing for the community? Put Safe Routes to School down there, use the numbers. The police department got X number of kids to walk to school this week, this month. Everything that we do, we want them to be writing it on their reports. We want them to be claiming it as their program. And the more people that claim it as their program, I feel like the more successful and the more sustainable the program ends up being. So I'm going to leave it at that. Please note down my email address and my phone number. You are more than welcome to jump in and call at any point in time if you guys have questions on how to start a program. Sometimes I think it's easier to learn these things from a one-on-one conversation. So please don't be shy. If you would like to call me and ask any questions, I'd be more than happy to. But thank you so much for listening.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Ashleigh and Greg, for sharing your best practices and all these little tricks. We have time for some questions, so let's do that now. The first question that has come in, and this can be for anyone, great question. This question is about what is the key in making the cultural shift away from auto transportation to walking or biking? It seems that even though parents might be aware and embrace the benefits, we're still at our school. We're still seeing the same parents driving to school. Are there any recommendations?
Okay, I'm sorry, Hannah. Again, the question was how to encourage different parents to participate.
Yeah, what would be the key in making a cultural shift to get more people walking and biking that traditionally arrive to school by driving?
I would say one of my most successful ways is work it through the children rather than through the adults. Yep. Because if you can go to the kids and the kids want to participate, you'll get them to convince their parents to participate. And so I actually have found that the very most successful way to get the word out is I run into classrooms and do about a 3-minute presentation and say, hey, it's the walking school bus and this is what you get and here are the charms and here are the prizes and come 10 times. And I have little classroom contests or incentives within the classroom. So I think the way to get the parents on board is to get the kids on board first. And again, those kids come via one-on-one, the classroom visits.
Yeah, I'll just chime in real quick. I completely agree with what Ashleigh just said in terms of getting the kids on board first. Another thing we've discovered is making it as easy as possible for parents. So if possible and you're comfortable with it, doing things like remote drop-offs. In years past, we've done a walk to school day, weekly walk to school from a local park, and the entire route is almost entirely on a greenway. So we'd allow parents to drop their kids off. We sign them out. I send them a picture of the kids arriving at school so they know the kids got there okay. So I think making it as easy as possible for the parents, I think, is a good step. But it's definitely an obstacle. It's something we've run into. We get a lot of participation for one-time events, not so much for the weekly things. So.
I think those are really great suggestions. I just wanted to add that I think cultural shift takes time, so be patient. And in Ashleigh's presentation, she really mentioned that being consistent with the opportunities to walk and bike and the education and the programming and the messaging. So keep putting it in front of the audience, and slowly there can be a behavior change. Okay, next question. This one's for you, Ashleigh. A question about how did you get volunteers to lead the walking school bus? Do you have any tips to share with us?
Yes, certainly. So again, I think that it comes from one-on-one asks. People always assume that you've got plenty. So if you know a fellow parent or you know a teacher at the school, just say, hey, do you think I could possibly get your help this week getting the kids to school safely? Just making sure you have a leader and a caboose at the very least. And then you start noting what parents show up on a regular basis. So when parents do show up and walk, I try to give them a job. I try to say, hey, would you mind just watching this intersection while we all cross? And I kind of put them as like a little crossing guard at a particular small intersection. You'll soon start to see within the school the volunteers that'll start showing up on a more regular basis. So, excuse me. So again, you might know that there's a music teacher who the kids love, and then go to that music teacher and say, hey, you know what, the kids really love you. Would you be willing to walk and be a great role model for the kids? And more often than not, they just flattered to even be invited, and then they'll come up. So again, it's that choosing the personality over the position. And I think, we try to appreciate, I always just try to thank every volunteer every single time they walk, thank them so much for coming, and ask if maybe they would be able to come again next week because they were so helpful there that particular day. So, it's based on building relationships.
Great, thank you. I have a question here. Our school district has safe routes planned for each school, but we can't get much feedback from principals and currently at the county level. Is there a better contact person to go through as a generalization?
Yes, I can speak to that as well. I find that if you email anything to a principal, you'll never hear anything back. They won't ever schedule a meeting because they're so busy. The best way to get a hold of a principal is to pop in and see them. So you walk into the front office and you just say, can I have 3 minutes of your time? I just want to ask you super quick a couple questions. Are you willing to do are you aware of the Safe Routes to School program? And, could we get it started here? So again, the least, I know it sort of sounds counterintuitive that you'd like to spend an hour or two and tell them all about it. But honestly, if you can just grab 3 minutes and just say, may we get this thing started, and then talk to them further about it. If they have time to speak further, great. And again, I think with the county, what I've certainly found is once our program became successful and we started growing it to more and more schools, everybody wanted to be on board. So we have a lot more partners now that we have it up and growing. So it truly is grassroots. You have to start with the kids, get the kids walking, take pictures, do city council presentations, and then you go to the city or the county people and say, hey, do you want to be a part of this really awesome program that we've already got up and going, instead of asking them to help you start the program.
Okay, I like it. Okay, last question here. What are some tips for starting successful conversations with governmental agencies to address safety and infrastructure issues?
I can at least speak from our experience at Northwoods, and it goes back to the slide I had earlier, which is make sure you're always inviting them to every event that you have. In our experience, just a quick story, this past Bike to School Day, we invited a town council member who'd never come out to one of our events. And it just so happened at the time, I think 3 weeks prior, he had just got in to cycling and had started cycling for the first time in his life to work and things like that. So it was a perfect time to invite him. And he came out to Bike School Road with us. And one of the things he noticed was that we don't have an access ramp from the Greenway to our school. And, you know, as a town council member, he said that's kind of embarrassing that the school doesn't have this ramp. So he put us in touch with a person in our planning department in the town whose responsibility it is just for special transportation projects. So she was able to start talking with people within the school system about our situation. And, you know, this is an ongoing thing. It may be years from now before anything happens, but nothing at all would have happened if we hadn't invited this person. And so you have to, I guess, create that environment where things can happen. Invite them, show them, talk to them, and, you know, over time, good things will happen.
Yeah. I might just add one more thing to that. The proclamations are a really great way to get in front of city council. So you call up the city council or the county commissioners or whoever it may be, and you just say, I'd like to do a walk to school day proclamation. And even if you can come in and do a PowerPoint or you just come and talk, and honestly, the very, very best thing is to bring kids. If you can bring kids with you or have kids make letters or signs and invite them to come. And then when they come back, then you call them out and say, Councilman Smith walked with us last week. We really appreciate you coming up. And they're all just humans. They love to be acknowledged and appreciated and invited. So I would second that.
Yep. Just real quick, because I know we're running out of time, just to add on to that. That actually happened in the situation I was describing. My daughter and I got invited to town council for town of Cary to help proclaim May as Bike Month right before Bike to School Day. And that particular town council member was the one giving the proclamation. So I was able to meet him there. And then he came out the next week to the school. So definitely echo what Ashleigh just said.
Wonderful. Thank you, Ashleigh. Thank you, Greg. Thank you, everyone, for listening. A reminder to please take our survey and join us for our future webinars. Thank you so much.
Thank you all.
Thank you.